Welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast, where we experience life being the real you. I'm your host, Randy Adkins Jr. I'm author, teacher, speaker, preacher, and lifelong learner. Today, we have a wonderful guest. He is one that has been a visionary founder. He's the owner of CordBrick, a company revolutionizing the way we manage our electronic cords. With a strong entrepreneurial spirit and a commitment to innovation, Nick Barrett has dedicated himself to solving everyday problems with practical solution. Nick Barrett is more than just the owner of CordBrick. He is a trailblazer in the realm of product innovation. His relentless pursuit of excellence and his ability to turn challenges into opportunities makes him stand out as a figure on the entrepreneurial landscape. As CordBrick continues to grow, Nick remains focused on delivering exceptional value to customers while inspiring the next generation of innovators. Nick, welcome to the Produce on Purpose podcast. How are you?
Thanks, Randy. I'm good. Thanks for the intro. I appreciate it.
I always like to start off and share with our audience a little bit about our guests. So share with our audience a little bit about your journey and a little bit about what you'll be sharing with us today and how you got to where you are now.
Sure. I guess I'll start from where I thought of the product, which was about 5 years ago. And I had just continuously been dropping my phone cord on the floor. And I thought, why can't I just create a brick? Something super simple that I could just move that didn't have adhesive. And I looked online, I kind of did a little bit of competitor research. I realized, there's not really a good solution for kind of what I'm looking to do with this type of product. Maybe I can add another feature to it, like the ability to wrap a cord too, and then it could kind of stay with your cord the whole time. It gives the product a competitive advantage. And so I kind of went from there. But I had never developed a product before. I had had jobs in marketing. I went to school for engineering, ended up majoring in commercial recreation, worked for a company that did hang gliding and kite surfing and things of that nature. And then sold websites, did some property management. So I really had jobs all over the place. And then 7 years ago, I actually got sober. I'm a recovering alcoholic, haven't drank in 7+ years. And so that entire time has been a self-improvement process, which has coincided really well with the entrepreneurial journey. As you know, being an entrepreneur is like a constant work on yourself and just improving everything that you know and learning things constantly and just becoming a better manager, better with people, etc. So it's kind of gone hand in hand the last few years. So that's kind of where we're at today. I just launched our second product this year, CordBrick. CordBrick has been a very successful first launch for us. And so I'm excited to kind of share more of my innovations as I go here in the coming years.
Yeah, so as you've kind of gone through your journey, can you describe that moment when you realized you needed to make a change in your life and how that realization connects to your current purpose?
Sure. I think for me, it was a number of different moments. I mean, the main moment that, really inspired the change was getting a third DUI. My license is actually still suspended for 10 years, only 3 more years to go on that suspension. And so I have a hardship license now, so I can drive for work and necessity purposes. But, that was really the main, wake up call and point. In fact, when I left jail after my third DUI, the first two, I was able to just get right out of jail. But this one, they actually had me put kind of like a house arrest device around my ankle, but it's an alcohol monitor. And so it can sense it from your pores. I didn't even know this existed before I had done that, but I had to wear that for 4 months before my actual court date for my punishment for that third DUI, which ended up being 2 months in jail. So that was a pretty big motivation for my recovery. Was like, if I drank, people were going to find out. The law was going to find out, and my punishment was going to be more severe. So I had quite a motivation there. Going back, though, I knew it was a problem for quite some time before that. I had wanted to stop, had looked at myself in the mirror and screamed at myself, please don't do this again tomorrow. And I just really couldn't. I really had a physical and mental addiction to it. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that because, I think sometimes, we all come to these defining moments of our lives and we don't know when those are going to occur. But it sounds like you had a little motivation based on where you were in life. So take me to that place when you came up with this innovation for CordBrick. How did that idea come about? And what were you doing at that moment that said, aha?
Well, I'll say that most inventions that I've heard are created out of laziness. And so this was no exception to that. I wanted a better solution. And so I was not happy with the current existing solutions. As a lazy person, I just thought, I just want my cord wherever I can put it. I don't want adhesive on this little block so it has to stick somewhere. I want to be able to put it on my bed sheet, literally. I'm that lazy. And then I thought, well, I want it to stay with my cord because I was traveling around, moving in different places a lot. I'm not going to, be staying at this very nightstand where an adhesive cord holder might stick. So why don't I just make it that I can also wrap my cord around it? And since it doesn't have adhesive, that's no problem. You can just move it. It's just a weight. So simple, just like a miniature version of a brick. So, it wasn't a very complex idea. And I think a lot of times when people are, developing companies or concepts for ideas, they tend to overcomplicate it. Some people call that scope creep, where you try to solve too many problems and the solution that you're providing isn't simple enough. My solutions are very simple for this product. A lot of people will say, why did I think of that? And so that I think is showing that it's really resonating with them as a product, because it kind of just makes sense in the name, the look, the use. And the fact that it's also a phone accessory and goes with your phone cord, just seems to kind of resonate with people. And that's pretty, shown itself every time I've been selling it, from flea markets to trade shows to online to in retail stores. And it's a promotional product. So, kind of everywhere we've gone with the product, we've been able to find success. So, that was kind of how it started, just wanting to solve that one simple problem and then just trying to create competitive advantages around that based on what my competition was already doing.
Yeah, it seems like just an everyday problem that we all have. I have multiple cords on my desk and or my nightstand, and you want to just make sure the cords are organized in some way, be able to make sure they're not just falling all over the place. So that is really cool. As you've been inventing and you've kind of gone out with CordBrick, obviously when we create these companies, we create these products, typically there's something else beyond what we've just created as a product. So my question is, given that sense, now that you've kind of invented CordBrick, you've created a company, now you're actually creating more products. What's your sense of purpose behind and beyond just the successful product itself? What have you kind of gotten out of that? And maybe some particular areas that you didn't expect as you've been going down this journey of yours.
Yeah, I think, just about any expert that has shared their opinion, whether to whatever degree you consider yourself or are an expert there, I think most people find it rewarding to share that wisdom and knowledge with other people. And so coming from, I started going to AA really early in my recovery journey, and the 12th step is really I think most people would say the most important aspect of the program, which is doing just that. It's passing your experience, strength, and hope, your wisdom, on to others, and trying to impart, some sort of knowledge to them, and just share, pay it forward, share what you've already learned without really wanting anything in return. That being said, it feels really good. So it's kind of intoxicating to do that. And so I've found that, talking to other entrepreneurs, other entrepreneurial students, and people who want to create something has been very rewarding for me. And so, combining that with my recovery journey, CordBrick, we try to do our build something mission. So that has two parts, which is physically, donating enough, eventually portion of every sale that we have goes to these nonprofit organizations to actually construct housing for people in early recovery. We just made one of our donations this year to St. Matt's, which is a organization that both houses and kind of manages and oversees this program for people who are coming off the street to make sure that they stay sober, they have a safe place to live, they're getting to meetings, they can get a job, and kind of get back on their feet. So there's, especially with housing getting so expensive and rental prices, it's really essential to have this managed and affordable or free sober housing for people who really need it. And then as part of that, I of course am building something myself with CordBrick and the brand, but love to inspire other entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, to kind of do the same, because it's been so rewarding for me in so many different aspects of my life.
Hey, that is, I think, one of the greatest things and most fulfilling things to do is to be able to take what you are learning and sharing and teaching it to others. Also, wow, giving back to the community and, to a place that hits near and dear to your heart of being able to give back to that nonprofit and really have that be a part of others' lives through your innovation. I want to go down that path a little more because your journey from addiction to entrepreneurship, I kind of like that there's somewhat some parallels, sounds like, or some learnings that you learned either coming from AA or during your entrepreneur journey. Can you provide a idea of maybe where some of the information that you've kind of learned along your journey, where it has helped you provide the ideas for that more meaningful life, that more fulfilling piece? Because it seems like you do have a lot of good pieces there where you're servicing the community through the product, but you're also servicing the community through some of your giving back. How have you seen some of the, I guess, the places where they relate on your journey, and what have you seen in your particular journey that has been helpful?
Yeah, you hear it a lot from other entrepreneurs and people, endurance event, marathon runners, that addiction is part of their past. And I do think there's something there. For me, the best I can recall, I used to think that I didn't possess willpower or discipline. I used to think that my impulses just, would overtake me, and I was almost under no control. And I think in recovery, I think that has actually reversed. I've sort of realized how much I am in control and how strict my discipline can be and how strong my mind is. It's almost like I was so strong-willed during the addiction to continue that. And now being in recovery, it's like I'm so committed to this now that there's nothing that's going to, really going to take me off that course, I think. And, I know now that in recovery, doing hard things gives you the best rewards. The more you can challenge yourself, Jordan Peterson talks about the more responsibility you can take on, the more meaning your life will then take on itself. So to choose to do that voluntarily is, the Christ-like sacrifice that I think really is the most rewarding journey that you can experience. And so there've been a lot of parallels there, and just sort of, I would also add just acceptance in general. As an entrepreneur, there's so many different things that you just have to adapt to, that you don't like how they do it, that, it seems really just bizarre, and every industry is different. There's always going to be different things for product and, for challenges for different businesses about what that is. But I think every entrepreneur will agree that a lot is out of your control. So what do you have to do? You just have to keep doing, and adapting, and accepting immediately whatever the situation is. And, okay, here's how we're going to react to it, and here's what I'm going to do because of that. And just, how to survive in that environment. So I think those are the two of the biggest parallels.
I like that. And you talked about acceptance, and the entrepreneur journey can be something that is always throwing something at you. There's always something new that's coming up, whether it's suppliers, maybe distribution, maybe it's just trying to make sure that the particular product is out there, marketing. You just have multiple things that you're having to deal with on a daily basis. And for you get to a place where it's, wait a minute, I can't sit here and dwell on, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening to me. Oh my gosh, this is horrible. Rather than doing that, just accept that, okay, this just occurred. Now, what do we do for the best of our product or the best of our life? How do we continue to move forward, even though this particular thing occurred? Let's move forward. And then you talked about the strength that you have from the inside. Sounds like there's a strength that you gained during recovery of understanding who you really are. And I'm going to just ask a little more along those lines, because it sounds like that may be where you were able to also now be who you are now as an entrepreneur, is that sense of understanding that pretty much looks like you can create or produce anything that you would like in this world, and that you made it to that place now where you get to consciously and intentionally make that choice and decision. So how does that look on a daily basis now that you're developing now CordBrick, and you had to come from an idea all the way to where you are now? How did you get to a space where you are constantly and consistently, intentionally building these new products and building your business?
That's a great and complicated question. But let me try to simplify my answer to something that might relate best to a listener. And so what I think that is, the difficulty is not in the idea of the entrepreneur. A lot of people think you have to be very creative and, just far out of the box and extremely smart. My product is very simple. It's a block of silicone with some steel inside and some grooves, parallel channels running in, right? And some little narrow points, and it's flexi material. So, there's a couple aspects to it, but it's not a car. I'm not doing like Elon reusable rockets or something like that, right? So I think people overcomplicate it. You don't have to do something that's extreme. You can provide a very simple solution. So the two things I always try to impart on people who are coming up with an idea or thinking about starting a business. It is, who is your customer? And basically what that is who's going to pay to solve the problem that your product or service solves for them? Because someone's got to pay for it, obviously. And the second thing is actually, what would your exit strategy ideally be? And because when your exit strategy, every business has a life cycle. And so you've got to figure out, where are you going to exit the business? Because, you have a career and a plan for your life, ideally, to retire at some point. So it's not going to go on forever. So what is the way that you sort of get out of this business? Maybe it's a family business. Maybe you pass it on to your kids, right? So, that could sort of be part of the exit strategy. But for me, it was brand acquisition. I thought, okay, I'm going to build a brand around the brick. And so that is kind of what we're working on now, is we're adding other bricks to our brand that aren't just CordBricks and CordBricks. We're going to be adding other types of bricks, which I'll be excited to announce hopefully the beginning of next year. But my marketing background and kind of my, I don't know if it's just being a millennial and sort of thinking, being told all the time, you're special or you're unique or something like that. But I always kind of thought, like, what's my unique and special gift to the world? And so whenever I was kind of thinking through an idea, was like, I would think, like, how can I make this different? How is this unique? What sets this apart? And so I think this brand actually kind of fits into a niche. And so what we're trying to do is build a brand around the brick, because I think it resonates with people. It makes sense. And we can kind of form out a whole product line around this entire concept and achieve my goal of brand acquisition. And so all the activities that we've been doing over the past couple of years have been focused towards that eventual goal of getting acquired. And so that's so important to think about in the beginning, is, where do you want to go? Because all your actions are going to determine what you're going to do to reach that end goal. If some of your actions aren't, pointing you towards that end goal, then you probably shouldn't be doing them. It's not going to help you get there.
I like that, because then you're now talking about, number one, you told us, of course, know your audience, which I believe is very important. I'm an author, so that was one of the first things I had to figure out is who's the audience of your book, who you're writing to, who's going to buy this, who's going to actually purchase what you are working on. And then the second part that I think is really paramount for all entrepreneurs, just about anyone, even in your life, to understand is understand what your exit strategy is. And you made a point, you said, all businesses have a life cycle. Even the mom and pop business has a life cycle. That means they would like to send it and give it to their children, but maybe their children, by the time they're done, is like, I don't want it. So now what do you do? How do you make sure you get to that space? And definitely setting up a company for acquisition is different than trying to create some intergenerational so you have to kind of think about what decisions are you going to make, and it should make those decisions easier. What kinds of, I guess, tactics would you share with a burgeoning entrepreneur or someone that's out there that, is coming to this place where they have an idea and now they're wanting to get it out? What would be one of the first steps they would need to take?
Talk about it, share it, explain it to as many people as possible, get people to poke holes in it. I think the biggest mistake that most people make is they do the opposite of that. They keep it close to the vest. They, think that someone's going to take it from them. And I think as humans, like, we're used to being afraid of someone taking our stuff. My grandma is in elder care here in Naples, Florida, where I live, and she's constantly afraid that people are stealing her things. And research said it's quite common for people in old age, and it makes sense. I mean, and if you find out someone steals from you one time, it destroys the trust in them forever, and it erodes your faith in humanity, etc. So, I think it's a natural fear, but I think it's a little bit unwarranted most of the time. You find out that usually the best ideas are copied once the business has already been successful. And then comes along another business that kind of, people are able to see that what someone has done is successful, and there's an opportunity somewhere in between where they are and where there might be some other space. And so that can be healthy competition, actually. But I think what I've found is my product is fairly easy to replicate. It's not like, it's very simple. It's not like someone has kind of made a knockoff already of it. It's inferior. It doesn't have any weight inside, even though they're selling it as weighted. So the customers, I think, are disappointed. We have some intellectual property and are in the process of even getting them removed. But I'm not even that worried about it, because they don't even know how to use the product properly, because they didn't invent it. It was my idea. So they don't really even know how to use it. And so the pictures that they're marketing it with don't even make sense. And so I'm sure they're not selling a lot. And again, I'm not too worried about it. It's on the major sites. I just see it here and there. But no one's going to copy your idea. It's your idea. It's your vision. You're the only one that has it in your head and can see it. So what you want to do is you really want to talk about it and get other people to poke holes in it, particularly your customers who might actually buy the product. And then you want to try to sell it to them, get a minimum viable product as fast as possible, get it in their hands. Even if you think this isn't the final version, there's going to be more customers. There's going to need to be more customers than the first couple of people you might talk to. So that would be my advice. Get moving.
Get moving, start sharing your information. And my understanding, you do have a utility patent on what you're doing. And so, if you are still making progress towards that, hopefully you don't have to worry so much about, someone taking your idea and moving it forward. I like the part where you say, hey, it's your idea. You're the one that has the vision for it. So if others try to copy it, it just won't be the same.
Right.
Additionally there. Well, thank you. I think that's very helpful, because, sometimes I think we do get caught in wanting to just kind of get started, but it's like sometimes there is a mistake of saying, I don't know if I want to share this with everyone that I'm around. And it sounds like it's good to share, because also you never know if there's somebody who wants to invest in what you're doing. So I think it's very interesting to be able to do that. It's kind of opposite. Yeah.
I just add one more thing to that, and that is that the most helpful people for me have been other entrepreneurs. So you really want to talk about your idea with them, because they'll tell you a bunch of stuff that's going to help you go a lot faster, save a lot of your time, get connections you wouldn't have otherwise had. So, and other people will too. They'll say, "Oh, I knew someone who did this. You should talk to them about this or that or the other thing." I mean, that's been one of the most really unexpected things, is how willing people are to share their free time and information and contact with me and not ask for anything in return. So it's really elevated my faith in humanity to see that as well.
It's really interesting how many people really want to help, how many people want to be a part of what you're doing or putting out there. So I'm going to shift a little bit here and ask you about your family and the family values that you have. How has that been a driver in what you've been doing, and kind of giving you that sense of purpose and helping you to be more creative and change oriented as you're approaching what you're doing in your life?
Both of my parents were raised Christian, and we went to church, and I went to Sunday school as a child. Like many young kids, and I think maybe even more so amongst my generation, millennials, church was just, I really struggled with it as a young person. And I still do, actually. It, but I will say, the values that I learned through Sunday school and church and the people involved have stuck with me throughout my adult years. And I leave my mind completely open to a multitude of possibilities. I really don't discount too many things. I'm usually willing to listen to just about any opinion and new information on any topic I can get my hands on. So I think both my dad I called the most ethical man in the world for for my entire life. I mean, he just is a really always doing the right thing kind of guy. And so to see that as an example, just it can't help but rub off on you. I mean, humans are imitative creatures, and so you definitely don't want to let a person like that down with poor ethics. So I also just saw how rewarding it was and how good it felt to make other people feel good. When I was in Boy Scouts, we used to do like canned food drives and stuff like that, and my Eagle Scout project, and something to help the community. And then just participating in things like youth sports and whatnot. You see all the adults and other people volunteering their time, or if they're getting paid, basically nothing to do it for high school sports and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I mean, I think our culture and our communities are unbelievable. And, when you really get to know people, you see there's not nearly as much division as the news and stuff would have you believe. And I come from a family of, pretty low conflict. So I'm the benefit there. My perspective is that, people in general try to take care of one another. And that's just what I try to do when I can. And I've definitely seen that from people I look up to around me in my life. I'm very fortunate in that way.
Yeah, well, definitely. And it's always good, I think, to understand, the foundations of what have gotten you to the place that you are. What kind of advice would you have for someone that may be struggling, trying to find their purpose or trying to find that personal transformation? What are some things they can do?
Yeah, go talk and listen, surrender, be willing to accept a new viewpoint other than your own. I mean, for me, someone who was an alcoholic and just impulse driven person, and didn't feel like I had a lot of control of my own actions, listening to people share their own stories in AA and just sitting there. I think even if you're not an alcoholic, I can't imagine how it wouldn't be beneficial. You would still hear a lot of things that you could relate to and realize that you're not alone. I think we've got this thing going on in our culture where it is that terminal uniqueness. You're different. Nobody's like you. It's like, yes, but a lot of people are really like you. So you should look for them and try to, learn from their experiences, because that's wisdom, right? It's not having to make your own mistakes. It's trying to learn from other mistakes so that you can then do better in your life. And I think, that's, I think we kind of take for granted that we're just supposed to do better than our, parents' generation and their generation before them. But are we really? I mean, I think there's a lot of more work that probably needs to go into that on an individual level. I saw it in myself and still do, um, to just keep improving, keep, sharing wisdom as much as possible and trying to honestly find it and get rid of your own confirmation biases and anchoring biases and, all the things that affect, um, um, making choices that aren't good for yourself or for others.
Cool. Thank you for sharing that. I love to always end with this one question for those in my audience is, do you have 2 or 3 areas that someone can take and implement today that will help them along their entrepreneurial journey, their life transformation, whatever you have learned from your journey that would be beneficial for them to start implementing today?
Sure. The first one would be just do a little bit more today. And that doesn't mean actually you have to do more time wise or commitment wise. It just means learn a little bit more, look into something a little bit more, sacrifice a little bit more, work out a little bit more, push yourself a little bit harder, right? Just try to make incremental improvements every single day in tiny aspects of your life. And before long, those little things are going to start becoming habits, and you're going to start then progressing even further and further in a number of those areas. The other thing I would say is pay good attention to what you're eating and consuming and when. My diet as I've gotten stricter of my diet and then cheated per se, I've really noticed the difference that certain foods and time of day eating those types of foods have on me. And so I've noticed too how that it's almost like a hangover. It affects your next day. So really watch that and figure out for your body what is, affecting you and how, because it's different for a lot of people. And then try to, genuinely put some effort towards, putting yourself in the best position that you can to succeed from a mental standpoint, every day. For instance, I don't drink coffee when I wake up for 90 minutes now, because something I heard from Andrew Huberman, right? And so I just a small, incremental improvement. I think it's actually reducing my coffee intake too. So, things like that.
Yeah, well, thank you for providing that. And you mentioned a couple of things earlier, and I definitely share this as we encourage everyone to become producers. If you're going to become producers of your own life and your life has a movie that you're creating, you have to get people that are around you and you have to surround them to help you with your vision or whatever you are putting out to produce. And I think when we understand our purpose, we understand what we're doing, then it aligns and it helps. And then your last 2 tips there of making sure that, you understand your body, there needs to be an alignment of your body, your soul and your spirit of making sure that that's clean in what you're doing. And then taking those little small steps, will create the habits that you want to be able to produce and create. Well, Nick, I am so grateful that you were able to come on and share about your journey and share about where you are. How can my audience get in contact with you?
Sure, you can find my product at CordBrick and Desbrick, my products now, at cordbrick.com or at CordBrick on any social media. You can email me, nick@cordbrick.com. I'm Nicholas Barrett on X and LinkedIn.
Well, thank you, Nick, for taking the time, sharing how your journey has come into play. I will take a lot of what you have said, and it is definitely, especially for entrepreneurs, for those that are moving from addiction to purposes in their lives and how they should live, that you are a living person that has experienced that and being able to pass and share that to everyone. And then you've created a company that is providing and giving back. And I think that is so important for us to be able to share and provide that kind of service. So you're servicing through products, you're servicing through the community. We appreciate what you're doing there, and best of luck to what CordBrick is doing. And my encouragement to everyone is that you continue to be the real you and produce on purpose.